one of the cool things about Raytheon is that they are opening a brand new plant in Huntsville, and their plant manager has agreed to take some time out of his really hectic schedule this morning to kind of come and talk about some of the really neat things that they are doing. From a robotics standpoint, I have been told that this is a pretty cool place. Very excited to have back, which is astronaut Hoot Gibson. He is better known to us as the man who has flown everything. And then we're going to end the day in the MathAlive exhibit. So for about 2.5 hours, we'll have the exhibit all, well, mostly to ourselves. 47 different interactive stations that all talk about how math that you've learned in school is going to affect you in your daily life, no matter what career choice you go into. If you have any questions as we go along the day, just ask away, no dumb questions. Though I will go ahead and clear up, we do not have an anti-gravity room.
Raytheon is a defense contractor for the most part. We explore more than 23 locations actually to base this operation, and the arsenal here in Huntsville was the clear winning solution. Basically, you saw Travis at about 3 feet from the vehicle. I don't know if you noticed that in the beginning. At about 3 feet, the vehicle knows somebody's walking next to me. So I'm just going to be watching for this somebody, okay? But it's going to keep doing its thing. At about 2 feet, the vehicle literally slows down to like a way slower pace. If you interrupt 12 inches within, it just flat out is going to stop and say there is something unsafe happening. You know, by 2040, the United States is only going to produce about 30 or 40% of the required engineering workforce in this country. That's about 2040. There is going to be a high demand of engineers out there, scientists out there, that we don't produce in our school systems. We need people to go through the programs. We need to incentivize that. There are guys out there called engineers, right? As an 8th grader, you probably still don't know what that means, right? Math counts personally enabled me to make that relation. And I'm an engineer by education. Raytheon has actually already invested about $60 million in the STEM campaign. And MathAlive, which is the exhibit we got here, is actually, I think, the second biggest exhibit that we put in terms of STEM promotion.
astronaut Pierce, he was known as the best of the best, the Chuck Yeager of the astronaut corps, able to fly anything with a stick and throttle. From light piston aircraft to thundering fighters, from supersonic jets to the space shuttle, Hoot has flown it. He saw duty aboard the USS Coral Sea and the USS Enterprise, flying combat missions in Southeast Asia. Hoot has flown 14,000 hours in 136 types of civilian and military aircraft, a number that includes over 300 carrier landings. Captain Gibson was selected as a NASA astronaut in 1978 and is a veteran of 5 shuttle missions. Hoot has spent a total of 36.5 days in space. He is an aeronautical engineer, a Navy aviator, test pilot, astronaut, world record holder, Space Camp Hall of Fame member, and I think most importantly to all of us, a very good friend to the Space and Rocket Center.
If you divide thrust by mass, you can see that we lift off at just about 2 times the force of gravity. 2 G's of acceleration right at liftoff, as he's flying a rocket back. And this was the first time this had ever been done. And I'm sure that all of you have probably seen this photograph before, and I know you've wondered who was the brilliant photographer that took these pictures. As the co-pilot, I was the only person that had absolutely nothing to do. My last mission, as Charity mentioned, I got to go meet up with the Russians, dock with the Russians up in space. This was the first docking that a space shuttle ever did. So I got to be the one to train on how to dock. And the protocol was that I, as the shuttle commander, would shake hands with Vladimir Dezhurov, the Mir commander, and we had to have live television in Moscow, live television in Houston, because this was a big moment. And the President of the United States went on television that night and announced that this handshake marked the end of the Cold War. So now you know it was me that ended the Cold War. And this is actually Hurricane Bonnie that we shot on my 4th mission in September of '92. And you can see where this eruption has burned a hole through the clouds with all the heat. It's trapped a bunch of cloud up on top of the ash and is pushing it way up high into the stratosphere. I've got to say that my launch aboard Columbia, which was my 2nd flight, my first mission as commander, was by far the most interesting launch because we had malfunctions going all the way to orbit. The most interesting flight had to be the Mir docking, and we had to attempt to learn to speak Russian. I describe it as attempt to learn to speak Russian because I are an engineer.